I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're exploring Tammy Cranston's enchanting novel. It is called Rooted, A Seedling's Journey. This heartwarming tale delves into the essence of generational bonds and the relentless pursuit of one's purpose. Join us right now as we uncover the deep-rooted morals and perseverance that guide a seedling through life's trials. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our team at Bookside Press for helping us put her in the spotlight today. We ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below this interview. Tammy, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you. Thank you, Logan, for having me.
My pleasure. Let's talk a little bit about the overview of your book and briefly tell the folks at home what Rooted is all about.
Well, Rooted is a book about a seedling who really dreams of becoming a tree. You know, he's in the forest, just a little thing, and just looking up at these trees and just envisioning that, how do I get there? And obviously, you know, when anyone is really small, they have to overcome a lot of obstacles. And this happens in the forest, which is very relatable to children. We all, in our human experiences, have to overcome obstacles. But he is mentored by Grandpa Oki, and this does come to reality. He does actually become a tree. So the book really is about a mentorship relationship, generational bonds, and it really is about, pursuing your dream, overcoming challenges and obstacles, and then in the end, living a purpose-driven life by what happens at the end of the story.
Sounds like it's a book that is multi-generational, but who is your target audience for it?
The book really is targeted towards 6 to 8-year-olds,
Mm-hmm.
but I have had many adults who have read it and even commented on Amazon, this book was meant for me. So really, it has a wide range of audience. The discussion questions at the end make it especially useful for parents, teachers, therapists. It is being used right now at a grief support group in Texas. And I do have several doctors who actually have said that they're using the book just to get kids to start, feel comfortable before a session and just to get them to feel like, they can relate to this story.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you've actually worked in grief and bereavement. Tell us a little bit about that part of your life.
Well, grief has been a big part of my journey. I lost my father when I was a child at 4. So this book really, I wish would have been available when I was a child, just to really more understand as a child how to process death. And, if you're a child and you don't have a pet who dies, you really don't really understand death. And we need support. We need adults, and we need there to be resources that will help guide us through the process.
Absolutely.
After the death of my spouse, I decided to become a hospice bereavement volunteer. And just last year, I unfortunately lost my oldest son at 39 years old. So grief has been just a part of my life. And I find purpose in encouraging others through the process. So
Yeah.
when I trained to become a bereavement volunteer, I actually worked with families in their home to be support and to be someone who has gone through the process that they can look at to see that you can get through this. So I was supported. So now it's my turn to provide that support. I also use my skills as a photographer and videographer to make memorial DVDs for the families. And then I volunteered at a camp for children. And this camp is amazing because children really, like I said, they look to adults to find support. But when they go to school, there is no one who is going through what they go through. And they really don't have any peers that they can relate with that understand. But at this camp that's called Camp Healing Heart, it's a bereavement camp for children, everyone there has lost someone close to them. And it is amazing to see the progress they make when they are able to be with peers that they can relate to. There's a lot of exercises that we do. It's also recreational. There is some crafts and some fun, but they do some hard work to work through their grief. most children say, can I come back next year? It's it's so good, such a good program for them.
Amazing. Well, the people whose lives you touch are very, very blessed to have you in their lives because you're a very compassionate, empathetic person, and we appreciate that for sure. Tell us a little bit about your inspiration to write this book. How did you come up with the idea of using a seedling to tell a story?
Well, I grew up on a farm as a child, so I just love the woods. And when my great niece was 4 years old, it was her birthday, and I asked, well, what would she like? And her mother said she loves trees. She would love a book about trees. And when I went to find one, I couldn't find exactly what I wanted. Of course, there's the beautiful story of the giving tree, which is a
Mhm.
classic, but that's not exactly what I was looking for her. So I decided that someday I would write one. I've always been creative. I've always loved writing. And so this book I started 10 years ago, and then off and on in my busy life, I put it aside. I just decided I'm going to finish it. Initially, the book was not called Rooted. It was called Geometry, and it just focused on the purpose, the goal to become a tree. But because of all the loss in my life and because of wanting to help families that are going through difficult change, it turned into what it is today.
Mhm.
And my editor suggested that it come full circle and that Grandpa Oki, who mentored the little seedling, needs to actually die.
Mhm.
So at the end of the story, we actually see that happening.
Yeah. Well, it makes the story very touching, very beautiful, and it does bring it full circle. So I think that was good advice as far as storytelling goes, for sure. Is there an excerpt from the book you'd like to share with us or a passage?
I really like the part, I'll set the context where, he is starting to notice these changes, not only in growth and circumference, but going through physical changes where he is itching profusely. And the little seedling is complaining about it. And Grandpa Oki hears the seedling complaining and then starts becoming a little bit annoyed because he knows that change is part of our growth experience. So the seedling, or Grandpa Oki says, being uncomfortable can be a good thing, but the seedling is really puzzled at that statement, wonders how can being uncomfortable be a good thing? So his response to Grandpa Oki is, how can this be good when it feels so bad?
Hmm. Yeah. Very, very, very true. Tell us, what is the answer to that question? How could something be good when it feels so bad?
Again, it's part of our growth experience, and no matter what our age is, we're going to go through it. If you really want to come out on the other end changed by whatever you're going through, you have to face the situation, the challenge, and work through it. And we best do that by having encouragement from others, which is a big part of this story. And when we look back in our own lives, we are all able to think about who has encouraged us along the way. And for me, I'm very passionate about just paying that gift forward. And that's what I want to inspire in this book for children to do, for families to do, to have some discussions in their home.
Yeah, I think this book will prompt a lot of discussions, a lot of discussions that might otherwise be uncomfortable to have.
Right.
Particularly, grandparents are passing away and that kind of stuff. And I remember being a young child and my grandfather died, and I was completely, mystified by it, terrified by it, wondering why I'd never see him again. So this will provoke a lot of good conversations to have in a family. Which brings me to my final question is, what do you hope readers take away from it, your young readers and your old readers?
Again, difficult things in life will happen. It's part of our growth experience. But we can find purpose and meaning in our life by encouraging others like we ourselves have been encouraged.
Wonderful, wonderful. What was it like writing this book? Was it difficult at times? I know it brings up a lot of emotions in you for sure.
Well, the book is a mix because there's some funny parts.
Yeah.
there are a lot of creativity. For instance, there's the challenge, the test to see if he is big enough and wide enough to be a tree. Are his roots deep enough? So that's kind of a nice part of the journey. And another part of it is he gets to pick out his name once he becomes a tree. And I thought that was really interesting, a creative part of the journey. It's like a rite of passage for him. Now I'm a tree and I get to pick out my name. So for children to be able to reflect now on their name and what do people think of when they think of their name? Because a lot of this book is about moral growth and character development. And so there's so many multiple aspects to it, so much to learn from it, so many discussions that can be had. So I'm really, really proud of the book.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, you mentioned the giving tree before. Your book is different, but they're both about trees. When I think back at the giving tree, I don't remember the book. I remember a film that was made that told the story of the giving tree. So have you envisioned Rooted perhaps as a movie or an animated feature or an animated short, something like that?
I have. I did not have that vision when I was writing it. I just wanted to get a good book out there, but I have it now. And in fact, I have plans for this to be a 3-part series. So I want it to be Rooted, a Seedling's Journey, Rooted, a Sapling's Journey, where he's in midlife, facing challenges still, and then Rooted, a Tree's Journey, where now he is the old Grandpa Okie, reflecting on a life well lived. So I have already started writing on the sequel for book number 2, but this would make an adorable, adorable movie.
I agree.
I really would like to see that happen. I think it could be really fun and inspiring.
Agreed. And it uses all sides of your brain because you're not only a writer, you mentioned you're also a video storyteller as well. So it'd be fun to be involved in that process. Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Tammy Cranston's book is called Rooted, a Seedling's Journey. It is a heartwarming tale that dives into the essence of generational bonds and the relentless pursuit of one's purpose, and kind of answers questions and poses questions about what life and living and growing are all about. Tammy, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.